The beeping from her console woke Lieutenant Commander Olivia Russell from her daydream. She had been staring at the stars through the large window of the Earth Alliance vessel Horizon *. The ship was on a routine patrol through the Kuiper Belt, the distant edge of Earth's solar system. Most of the crew found these patrols boring, but Olivia always enjoyed the quiet beauty of deep space. The beeping continued. Olivia looked down at her screen and frowned. Something was out there, sending a signal unlike anything in their database. "Captain," she called out, "I'm picking up an unusual signal at coordinates 227 Mark 43. Captain Daniel Howard walked over to her station. He was a tall man with gray hair at his temples who had seen 20 years of space service. "What kind of signal, Russell?" he asked, leaning over her shoulder. "It's not matching any known patterns, sir. It's pulsing, almost like a heartbeat." Howard nodded and straightened up. "Plot an intercept course, but keep us at a safe distance. Could be anything out there." The Horizon * changed direction, its engines humming as it moved toward the mysterious signal. The crew grew quiet with anticipation. First Officer Ben Kelly monitored the ship's defensive systems, just in case. After 3 hours, they saw it. Through the main viewing screen, a massive object appeared against the blackness of space. It was huge, nearly 5 times the size of their own vessel. "My God," whispered Howard. "That's a ship." The object was clearly a spacecraft, but unlike any human design. It was long and cylindrical with strange bulges and fins along its sides. Most concerning was the fact that it was dark. Only a few faint lights flickered across its surface. "Life signs?" Howard asked. Science Officer Maya Garcia checked her readings. "It's hard to tell, sir. The hull is blocking most of our scans, but there's definitely some power running through that ship." "Try hailing them," Howard ordered. "All frequencies." Communications Officer Dr. Peter Martinez sent out greetings in every language and format humanity had developed for first contact scenarios. The bridge crew waited, barely breathing. 1 hour passed, then 2. "Nothing, sir," Martinez reported, disappointment clear in his voice. Howard was about to order a closer approach when Martinez suddenly jumped in his seat. "Captain, we're receiving a response." The message came through the ship's speakers, a series of strange clicks and whistles, followed by something that sounded almost like words. "Help, failing, last of, please." The voice was strange, with an echo that made it sound as if several beings were speaking at once. Martinez worked frantically at his console. "I'm running it through our translation matrix. Give me a minute." Howard nodded. "Take us closer, helmsman." Slowly. As the Horizon * approached, they could see damage along the alien vessel's hull. Parts of it had been repaired many times with different materials, suggesting a very long journey. Martinez looked up from his console, his face pale. "Captain, I've got partial translation. They're refugees. Their star system was destroyed. They'd been traveling for, if I'm reading this right, over 80 years. "How many?" Howard asked quietly. "Thousands, sir, most in some kind of suspended animation. Their life support systems are failing." Howard stood silent for a moment, then made his decision. "Tell them we're sending a team to help. Russell, Kelly, prepare for boarding. Full hazard protocols." 6 hours later, Olivia stood in a vast chamber aboard the alien ship, surrounded by thousands of transparent pods stretching as far as she could see. Inside each pod was a tall, gaunt figure with bluish skin and large, dark eyes, all in a deep sleep. Their guide was one of the few awake aliens who called himself Vexella. Despite his strange appearance, Olivia saw something familiar in his eyes, hope mixed with fear. "These are the last of the Nirani," Vexella said through the translator. "We have approached 7 worlds before yours. All turned us away." Captain Howard looked at the endless rows of sleeping refugees. "Not this time," he said firmly. "Not by Earth." 2 weeks after finding the alien ship, the Horizon * returned to Earth. Captain Howard stood in the large meeting room at Earth Alliance headquarters. Beside him were 3 aliens, Vexala, and 2 others from the Nirani Leadership Council. The room was filled with important people, military officers, scientists, and government officials. Many looked nervous as they stared at the tall, blue-skinned visitors. "These beings need our help," Howard said, his voice firm. "Their ship can't support them much longer. Thousands will die if we do nothing." General William Porter frowned. "Captain, your concern is admirable, but we know nothing about these aliens. They could be dangerous." "With all due respect, sir," Howard replied, "they've had many chances to harm us. They didn't." Dr. Laura Fisher stepped forward. She was a leading expert on alien biology at the Global Research Initiative. "I studied the medical data from the Horizon *. The Nirani are peaceful. Their bodies aren't even built for fighting. They evolved as gatherers and thinkers. That's what they want us to believe," said Senator Patricia Evans. "How do we know this isn't some trick?" Vexala moved to the center of the room. Though the alien was still learning English, the translation device around his neck helped. "We understand your fear," Vexala said. Others felt the same. 7 civilizations we found before yours. All said no. The room grew quiet. Vexala continued, "Our world died when our sun changed. We took everyone we could save. We traveled. We hoped." Dr. Fisher displayed images on the large screen. They showed the thousands of sleeping Nirani in their pods. "Only 14,000 remain alive," she explained. "They started with 30,000. Howard stepped forward again. "They're not asking to take our planet. They just need a safe place until we can find a permanent solution." The debate lasted for hours. Some officials wanted to send the aliens away. Others suggested studying them first. A few even recommended destroying their ship as a precaution. Finally, Vexala spoke again. "If you refuse us, we will leave. We will try to find another place, but many more will die. Our ship is failing." The alien's simple words seemed to touch many in the room. Admiral Susan Clark, the head of the Earth Alliance, stood up. "Humanity has often failed to show kindness to its own kind. Perhaps this is our chance to do better." She called for a vote among the Earth Council members present. The room was tense as hands were raised. "The Council has decided," Admiral Clark announced after counting. "We will offer temporary sanctuary to the Nirani while we determine a permanent solution." Relief washed over Captain Howard's face. Vexala bowed deeply, a gesture the alien had learned was meaningful to humans. Later that evening, Howard found Vexala standing alone by a window, looking up at the stars. "My people thank you," Vexala said without turning. "Not all humans agreed," Howard admitted. "Some are still afraid." "Fear is natural," the alien replied. "On our journey, we learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but acting despite it." Howard nodded. "Wise words. Where did you learn them?" "From you," Vexala said. "Your Earth books. We have been studying your culture since we detected your transmissions years ago. Your stories gave us hope. Tales of humans helping strangers, saving others at great cost." The alien turned to face Howard. "In all our travels, humans are the first to say yes when we ask for help. The universe abandoned us, but humanity offered hope." Howard looked out at the stars. "The hard part comes next. We have to make this work." "Together," Vexala said, placing a 4-fingered hand on the window glass. "Together, we will." 6 months passed. In the dry heat of the Arizona desert, a new settlement took shape. White domes and curved buildings rose from the red earth, designed to make the Nirani feel comfortable. The first 1,000 refugees had been awakened from their long sleep and moved to this temporary home. Jack Cooper drove his old truck along the dusty road toward the settlement. At 65, he was retired from his job as an engineer, but he couldn't stay away when he heard aliens were moving in just 30 miles from his small town. He had skills to offer, and too much free time on his hands. The guards at the gate checked his ID and waved him through. Inside, the settlement was busy with activity. Humans in Earth Alliance uniforms worked alongside the tall, blue-skinned aliens. "You must be Cooper," said a young woman approaching him. "I'm Dr. Amy Nichols. We were told you're volunteering to help with the water systems." Jack nodded. 40 years of engineering experience. Figured it might be useful. "More than useful," Amy smiled. "Come with me. Someone wants to meet you." She led Jack to one of the larger buildings. Inside, he saw an alien taller than the others, with markings on its blue skin that reminded Jack of tribal tattoos. It was looking at diagrams of water pipes on a screen. "Vexella, this is Jack Cooper, the engineer I mentioned," Amy said. The alien turned, dark eyes studying Jack with interest. "Your help is welcome, Jack Cooper. Our people are not used to Earth's dry climate." Jack was surprised by how normal the alien's voice sounded through the translator device it wore. "Happy to help. Never thought I'd be working with folks from another star." Over the next few weeks, Jack spent most days at the settlement. He taught the Narration about Earth's water conservation methods, while they showed him technologies he could barely understand. One day, while fixing a filtration system, Jack noticed Vexella struggling to explain something to a group of human workers. The alien was moving its hands in strange patterns, but the humans looked confused. "Problem?" Jack asked, walking over. "Our words are inadequate," Vexilla said, frustration clear in its voice. "Among our kind, we share thoughts directly. Here, we must use only sounds and gestures." Jack nodded. "Must be hard, like trying to write a letter when you're used to having a phone call." Vexella's expression changed to what Jack had learned was a smile. Yes, a good comparison. As they worked together, Jack learned more about the Narration. Their home world had been beautiful, covered in vast forests under a red sun. When their star began to die, they built their ship and flood, carrying seeds and samples of their world with them. Not everyone in the nearby towns was happy about the aliens. Small protests formed at the settlement gates some days. Signs read, "Humans first," and "Send them back to space." The situation grew worse when a Narration child fell ill with an Earth virus. The child's blue skin turned gray, and it struggled to breathe. Dr. Amy Nichols worked day and night to save the child. She studied Narration biology and created a new treatment. After 3 tense days, the child recovered. News of this spread through both communities. Many humans who had been suspicious began to see the Narration differently. One evening, Vexella showed Jack something special, a small plant growing in one of the domes. It had silver leaves that seemed to glow in the fading light. "From our home world," Vexella explained. "It cleans air and soil. On your Earth, it could help heal places damaged by pollution." Jack stared at the plant, understanding dawning on him. "You're not just refugees. You're bringing gifts." Vexella placed a 4-fingered hand on Jack's shoulder. "All travelers should bring something of value to those who welcome them." 3 months later, tensions grew around the Narration settlement. More refugees were awakened from their sleep pods each week. The settlement, once small, now housed over 3,000 aliens. Local news talked about the alien problem daily. Some people feared the Narration would take their jobs or land. Others worried about alien diseases. A group calling themselves Earth First held protests every weekend. Jack Cooper watched the latest protest from inside the settlement fence. The shouting crowd waved angry signs. "Do they hate us?" asked a voice beside him. Jack turned to see a young Narration. The alien child was about the size of a 10-year-old human, with lighter blue skin than the adults. "They don't hate you," Jack said gently. "They're afraid of things they don't understand." Major Stephen Rogers walked up to them. He was in charge of security for the settlement. "Cooper, you should get inside. These protests are getting worse." Jack nodded and led the young Narration away. Inside the main dome, Vexella was meeting with Dr. Amy Nichols and other settlement leaders. "Water quality tests show something is wrong," Amy was saying. The levels of certain chemicals are too high. Vexilla looked concerned. Is it dangerous? Before Amy could answer, alarms began to sound. Over the speaker system, Major Rogers' voice boomed. Medical emergency in Dome 3. All medical staff report immediately. Jack and Vexilla rushed to Dome 3. Inside, they found chaos. Dozens of Nirani were on the floor, their blue skin turning a sickly gray. They were gasping for air. What's happening? Jack asked a nearby medic. Something in the water, the woman replied as she gave medicine to a suffering alien. It's affecting their breathing. For the next 12 hours, the medical team worked nonstop. Despite their efforts, 5 Nirani died, including an elder who had been Vexilla's family member. Later, Major Rogers called a meeting. His face was grim. This was not an accident, he said. Someone added chemicals to the water purification system. We found this nearby. He held up a cloth patch with the words Earth First on it. It was sabotage, he continued. A deliberate attack. The room fell silent. Then Vexilla spoke, voice heavy with sadness. We have seen this before, on other worlds. Fear turns to hate. Hate turns to violence. Jack stepped forward. But we've also seen good here. More humans help us than harm us. The Earth Alliance is considering moving you all to a more remote location, Major Rogers said. Somewhere safer. Vexilla shook his head. Running and hiding solves nothing. We must build understanding. The next day, Jack had an idea. He called friends from his hometown, the mayor, his old boss, the high school principal, and others. He asked them to come meet the Nirani and see the truth for themselves. To his surprise, 20 people showed up. Jack and Vexilla led them through the settlement. They saw Nirani children learning Earth languages. They watched alien scientists working on ways to grow food in desert soil. They met families still grieving their losses. At the end of the tour, Jack's old boss, Frank Miller, spoke up. I came here thinking aliens were taking over, he admitted. But I see now they're just people, different looking, but still just trying to live. The town mayor nodded. My daughter's afraid to go to school because other kids say the aliens will eat her. That's just wrong. We need to fight these lies. As the visitors left, promising to tell others what they had seen, Major Rogers approached Jack. Smart move, Cooper, he said. We need more humans on our side. Vexilla looked at the departing visitors. On my world, we had a saying. Truth is a seed that grows slowly, but its roots go deep. Jack smiled. We have a similar saying here on Earth. 1 year had passed since the Horizon found the Nirani ship. In a large meeting room in Washington, D.C., Dr. Laura Fisher stood before the Earth Alliance Council with an unusual proposal. Marge, she said, pointing to images on the big screen. We should help the Nirani build a colony on Mars. The room filled with surprised voices. Admiral Daniel Howard, who had been promoted since his days as captain of the Horizon raised his hand for quiet. Dr. Fisher, Mars is barely habitable for humans with our best technology. How could the Nirani survive there? Dr. Fisher smiled. That's the amazing part. The Nirani have advanced ecological technology that could speed up terraforming. What would take us centuries might take only decades with their help. She showed the next slide. Images of the silver-leafed plants Jack Cooper had seen months ago. These plants can clean soil, create oxygen, and spread quickly even in harsh conditions. The Nirani have been testing them in Earth's deserts with remarkable results. Senator Evan Morris frowned. You're suggesting we just give away Mars. That planet is humanity's future. No, Dr. Fisher replied calmly. I'm suggesting we share it. A joint colony would benefit both species. The debate continued for hours. Some council members supported the idea. Others strongly opposed it. Through it all, Vexilla sat quietly, watching. Finally, Admiral Howard asked, Vexilla, what do your people think of this plan? The alien stood, speaking carefully. Mars reminds us of our home world before our sun began to die. Its red skies feel familiar. We would be honored to help transform it into a place where both our peoples could live. How long would this terraforming take? Another council member asked. With our combined technologies, parts of Mars could support life outside of domes within 50 Earth years, Vexella answered. This caused more excited discussion. Humans had estimated it would take at least 500 years to terraform Mars. Meanwhile, Jack Cooper's granddaughter, Lisa Cooper, had been creating videos about the Nirani. Her series called Our New Neighbors showed the aliens' daily lives, their culture, and their struggles on Earth. Millions of people watched these videos online. In one popular video, Lisa interviewed Nirani children who had been born on Earth, the first of their kind to never know their home world. What do you like best about Earth? She asked a young Nirani. The rain, the child answered. We had no rain on our ship for many years. Our parents tell stories about the rains on our old world. Earth rain is different but still beautiful. These videos helped change how many humans viewed the aliens. People began to see them as refugees who had lost everything, not as invaders. Back in Washington, after 2 days of debate, the council prepared to vote on the Mars proposal. Before they did, Major Stephen Rogers asked to speak. He had been in charge of security at the Arizona settlement and had seen both the worst and best of human-Nirani relations. When I first took this assignment, I saw it as just another security job, he told the council. But I'd watched these people work tirelessly to adapt to our world. They've shared their knowledge freely, even after some of our own tried to harm them. He paused, looking around the room. The truth is, they've been better neighbors to us than we have been to them. I think it's time we did better. His words seemed to touch many in the room. When the vote came, it was close but clear. The Mars project would move forward. As the meeting ended, Admiral Howard approached Vexella. It won't be easy, he warned. There are still many who oppose this. Vexella nodded. Nothing worthwhile ever is. But for the first time since our journey began, my people have something we lost long ago. What's that? Howard asked. A future to build toward, Vexilla replied. A home to dream of. The Mars project moved forward quickly. 6 months after the vote, the first joint human-Nirani team landed on the Red Planet to begin building the settlement they called New Beginning. Both species worked side by side, combining their technologies and knowledge. Back on Earth, things were not so peaceful. A small but powerful group within the Earth Alliance military grew increasingly angry about the Mars project. They believed humans should claim Mars for themselves, not share it with aliens. Colonel Richard Wells led this group. He had quietly gathered supporters for months, telling them the Nirani would eventually take over both Mars and Earth. They're playing the long game, he told his followers during a secret meeting. First they come as refugees, then they take our resources, our planets. We must stop them now. His plan was simple but dangerous. Take control of the original Nirani generation ship, which still orbited Earth. Most of the refugees were now awake and living either in the Arizona settlement or helping on Mars. But the ship contained seeds, cultural records, and technology from their home world. It was priceless to the Nirani. We'll hold their ship hostage, Wells explained. Force them to leave our solar system, or we'll destroy everything they have left of their civilization. On a quiet Tuesday morning, Wells and 20 loyal soldiers took over the Earth Alliance space station that monitored the Nirani ship. They quickly moved to the ship itself, overtaking the small crew of human and Nirani scientists who were studying it. When news of this reached Earth, chaos erupted. Admiral Howard rushed to the Emergency Command Center, where he found Jack Cooper and Vexalla already waiting. They've taken 12 hostages, Howard explained, his face grim. 8 Nirani and 4 humans. Wells is demanding all Nirani leave the solar system within 48 hours, or he'll destroy the ship. Vexalla's normally calm face showed deep pain. That ship contains the last seeds of our world, the records of our history, everything we could save. Jack placed a hand on the alien's shoulder. "We won't let him destroy it. I promise you." Admiral Howard nodded. "I have a loyal crew preparing to take back the station. Major Rogers will lead them." While Howard planned the rescue mission, Jack had another idea. He called his granddaughter Lisa, who had become famous for her videos about the Nirani. "We need to show people what's really at stake," he told her. Within hours, Lisa organized a peaceful gathering outside the Earth Alliance headquarters. Thousands of humans and Nirani stood together, holding hands or candles. News cameras captured the powerful image of the two species united. Lisa interviewed people in the crowd, both human and alien. One elderly human woman said, "My family came to America as refugees 2 generations ago. I know what it means to need a new home. The Nirani deserve the same chance we had." In space, Major Rogers and his team approached the captured station in a small, unmarked ship. The fight to retake the station was brief but intense. 2 of Rogers' team were injured, but all the hostages were saved. Colonel Wells was arrested along with his followers. When the news reached Earth, cheers erupted from the crowd outside headquarters. Jack and Vexala watched the celebration from a quiet corner. "I feared this day would come," Vexilla admitted. "On every world that rejected us, there were those who threatened violence." "What's different this time?" Jack asked. Vexilla looked at the mixed crowd of humans and Nirani embracing each other in relief and joy. "This time," the alien said softly, "we are not facing the threat alone." Admiral Howard joined them, looking tired but relieved. "The ship is secure. Wells and his people will face justice." "And the Mars project?" Vexilla asked. Howard smiled. "It continues. In fact, after today, support for it has never been stronger." 5 years passed since the first Nirani arrived in Earth's solar system. The Mars colony, New Beginning, had grown beyond all expectations. The first dome now covered a valley 10 miles wide. Inside, trees with silver leaves grew alongside earth plants, creating a strange but beautiful forest. The air inside the dome was becoming breathable without masks, thanks to the Nirani plants that produced oxygen quickly. Jack Cooper, now 70 years old, stepped off the transport ship and looked around in wonder. He had finally made the journey to Mars to see what his friends had built. "Grandfather," called a voice. Lisa Cooper rushed toward him, her face filled with joy. She had moved to Mars 2 years ago to document the colony's growth. Behind her walked Vexala. The alien leader looked different now, more relaxed, with new decorative markings on the blue skin of his arms, showing his status as the elected governor of the Nirani people. "Jack Cooper," Vexilla said warmly, "you honor us with your presence." Jack smiled at his old friend. "I had to see it for myself. All these years helping from Earth, sending supplies, fighting for your rights. I needed to see what we accomplished." They took Jack on a tour of the colony. Over 2,000 humans now lived alongside 5,000 Nirani on the Red Planet. New buildings were going up every day. Some were in the human style, others in the curved shapes the Nirani preferred. "Next month we plant the first crops outside the dome," Lisa explained as they walked. "The soil treatments are working faster than expected." Jack watched Nirani and human children playing together in a park. The children seemed unconcerned about their differences. To them, having friends with blue skin or pink skin was simply normal. "Admiral Howard arrives tomorrow," Vexilla said. "For the ceremony." Jack nodded. The ceremony would mark the official recognition of Mars as the Nirani homeworld. After 5 years of working together, the Earth Alliance had agreed that the Nirani had earned their place in the solar system. The next day, hundreds gathered in the central plaza of New Beginning. Humans and Nirani stood side by side as Admiral Howard and Vexala signed the official agreement. "Today we recognize the right of the Nirani people to call Mars their home," Howard announced. "No longer refugees, but neighbors and friends to humanity." Vexala stepped forward to speak. The tall alien looked out at the mixed crowd. "When our world died, we traveled the stars looking for shelter. 7 civilizations turned us away out of fear. We began to believe we were destined to wander forever. The alien paused, emotion clear in his voice. Then we found Earth. You humans could have rejected us like the others. Instead, you shared your home, your knowledge, and now this new world. You showed us that compassion can cross the boundaries between stars. Vexella held up a small plant with glowing silver leaves. This is the last plant from our original home world. Today we plant it in Martian soil as a symbol of our new beginning. Together, Vexella and Admiral Howard placed the plant in a prepared spot in the center of the plaza. The crowd cheered. Later, Jack stood with Lisa, watching the red Martian sunset through the dome's clear walls. Was it worth it? Lisa asked her grandfather. All the struggles, the protests, even the violence we faced. Jack looked around at the thriving colony, 2 species working together to transform a dead world into a living one. More than worth it, he answered. This is humanity at its best, Lisa. Not conquering, but building. Not fearing difference, but learning from it. A group of children ran past them, laughing, some with blue skin, some with pink. The universe abandoned them, Jack said softly, but humanity gave them a home. And in doing so, we found a better version of ourselves.